Hi, this is Roger Conrad. I'm Chief Strategist of Portfolio 2020. I want to thank you for subscribing and for reading our publication, which I'm doing with a number of very first-rate editors, Greg Early, Elliot Gu, and Yanis Mostros. They'll all be contributing to the publication on a rolling basis. I think in their areas of expertise, I think you'll find a number of very, very interesting and more importantly, very profitable ideas. The focus of Portfolio 2020 is to find companies that will build wealth over time. That's, of course, the primary objective of any investor. But the companies that we've selected here and will continue to select over time and that you'll be reading about are most importantly companies that have tacked into some of the mega trends of the new century, of the 21st century. Some of them are large companies that were leaders in the 20th century, and they're destined to be leaders in the 21st by adopting new technologies, new processes, really seeing where society's been going and adapting to where they need to go. Power companies are a classic example of this. They've been around since actually the late in the 19th century and have continued to grow as the electrification of the country and the world have continued. Now they're having to tack in some different directions because pollution and the environment have become much bigger issues, and particularly carbon dioxide. We may or may not have legislation in this country in the immediate future regulating carbon dioxide, but the players in the business know the handwriting's on the wall in this area. And they also know the handwriting's on the wall in terms of things like imported oil and other things, other processes, other types of energy that have been traditional sources of energy and have served us well in this country, but now are becoming maybe a little bit harder to get at, therefore a little bit more expensive. There are a few more costs added in, and so therefore they're having to make a move in another direction to secure other sources of energy. Talk a lot about these in this publication. Taking that to other industries, defense, medical issues. Of course, Asia is a very big area of growth and will be driving global growth going forward. So whereas the U.S. consumer has been more or less the primary mover, and when companies have gone out and tried to fill a new market niche, they've more or less looked at the American consumer. Now things have shifted a little bit. Now people are looking maybe a little more at the Asian consumer as well. So again, the successful companies are the ones who will take a look at these big trends, adapt and move in those directions and secure dominant positions in those areas. You're also going to find a number of high technology companies that are more or less spearheading a lot of these efforts. These tend to be a little bit more risky, and their prospects tend to be a little bit more iffy. On the other hand, they tend to do tremendously well if they are successful in, again, finding the right niche and navigating their way through some of the hurdles. And sometimes that just means hooking up with some of the bigger players, again, that are trying to do the same thing, trying to tack to the 21st century. But we give a good mix of all these things, and I think you'll find them to be very interesting. I want to talk about a couple of our individual selections. We've just been through third quarter earnings season, and by and large, up and down the portfolio, earnings have been very, very strong regardless of what we're talking about. We're smart grid or renewable energy or medical devices, defense. The companies that we've picked have continued to do pretty well, building on what they've done in prior quarters. And that's pretty extraordinary. I mean, I think if a company has been able to continue earning and continue to grow its business, that means it's pretty much tapped into some trend that's has transcended the economic downturn. It also means it's a well-run organization. It means it didn't lever up too much, and it means that again, doing all those things right, it's been able to secure actually an advantage over the past year, while others have floundered, while others have been hurt by the economy. And again, now that things seem to be cycling out and their third quarter earnings seem to be indicating that, it looks like good things ahead. A specific company, just to bring your attention to, and it's in our red, white, and blue segment there, which are basically American companies that are at the top and are positioned to stay there in the 21st century. And of course, the 20th century commonly known as the American century, so a lot of the major players out there were American companies.